Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 630 of Geeks in Space. They're taking a detour this week. We're going to Mars instead of low Earth orbit. I'm Rob Commander Taco Malda. We're watching Total Recall, and I'm here with Nate Ostendorp.
I'll be home in time for cornflakes.
Robert Roseboom.
I fed my guado.
Cliff Lampy.
Free your mind.
I meant to say, Cliff, it's nice to have you back after 2 weeks.
I know.
2 weeks.
I figured after Superman 3, I wouldn't be seeing you guys for a while.
That was rough.
Yeah.
Superman 3 probation was exceptionally short, I guess.
Yeah.
Not going to lie, I'm still holding a grudge.
All right, let's see. Total Recall. We got to set the Wayback Machine to 1990. This is one that I missed kind of like out of the gate. I saw it like, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like this was on TV like every afternoon in like the first half of the 90s. So I feel like I saw this a lot.
I distinctly remember seeing this in the theater.
Cool.
Me too.
This is, I would say, I was looking through the Arnold history, and I'm going to make the case that this is the last Arnold movie before he becomes just a parody of himself. Because like after this, it's like Twins and T2, and then Last Action Hero, True Lies. Those movies, he's a parody of what he is in this, Commando, Predator, Terminator 1. I don't know. That was my thought.
I'm not sure I'd put T2 in that list, but
I feel like T2 is really great, but I feel like at that point he's been sanitized by the machine, and he's just the parody of what he was before.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that happened at Commando, right? Because Terminator was really popular, and Commando is literally just 21-liners for him to deliver.
Also, Twins was before this.
Was it? Oh, man.
1988.
So I guess your theory is
Ruined.
crap, dude.
Ruined. I suck. I fail entirely. All right, but by the time he gets to Junior, I think we can all agree that he's definitely a has-been. Or at least he's not Arnie of peak time.
I still maintain the late bloomer Arnie theory where he blossoms and reaches his peak at Mr. Freeze in Batman.
Wow.
Well, there's a movie you all should do.
Oh, sign me up.
Yeah, I put that in the Last Action Hero, really, where he starts the revitalization.
See, I know this is not going to cause me to lose any credibility amongst you guys, but I really like Last Action Hero. I think it's like kind of perfect for what it is, but it knows what it is, and it is not good.
Rob.
I know. All right, well, Total Recall. This is another one where our notes for it, I think, say a lot about the structure of this movie, but the notes that we have are really heavily laden before he gets to Mars. He gets to Mars at like the 45-minute mark, and like 2/3 of our notes are ahead of that. And I think that, my theory here is that I think the world building stuff here is that's the fun thing here. And then by the time, like around the hour 30 mark, where it's all just like, okay, we know what's going to happen now, then it just kind of is on autopilot.
Yeah. Well, if you look at some of our previous movies, I think that's kind of the trend of things, right? We talk a lot about Act 1, a little bit of Act 2. Act 3 is pretty much, a lot of these 80s movies are the most terrible part of the movie. Right.
That's definitely not our burnt out attention spans of any sort.
No, we're definitely not checking our phones by the time Sharon Stone shows back up the second time.
I think this is 2 movies in one. Like, I haven't watched this in a really long time, like probably 20 years. And like, there's a mystery movie in here. Like, you can see the kind of scope of the original Philip K. Dick story in here. And like, that's a very different movie than like this Arnold Schwarzenegger action one-liner stuff that happened.
Yeah.
Right? It just feels tonally all the time. I was being jarred between those two themes.
Yeah.
I
find the storyline about being able to make a entire new persona for yourself, I think that would make a fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just part of this movie.
The remake doesn't go to Mars, right? I watched it, but I got to tell you, I don't remember it.
Yeah, I watched it too and have totally blocked it out.
So I had a theory that this is 3 movies. This is the Earth movie that Rob was talking about, then it's the Mars movie, and then it's the Arnold movie. And it's kind of like those, you got a scoop of each of those 3 things in this one. And, you know, I think that they're each successful in their own way, but I don't know that the sum of the parts is there. But everybody just flashed. That was weird. But man, I gotta tell you, I like this movie. All right, our first face.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like the gore in this movie. Like, this is back when special effects, you know, pre-CG, they actually had to build the prosthetic thing. I liked his face explosion.
For sure.
Well, I think this is a turning point movie. Like, Verhoeven himself has said, like, stuff like this would be done in CGI now, whereas this is all kind of puppetry work that they're doing. And so it's like, this is a shift in special or in practical effects.
Yeah, this is...
And just to be clear, this is not what would have happened to your face.
The science is suspect. Yeah, this is there's a handful of movies that exist right around this time window here before you get to Jurassic Park, and that's basically the starter pistol in the air for the next round. Like, okay, we can do CGI now, but I think at this point they're doing the compositing, like with the motion control and everything, and but the effects are still practical. A ton of the stuff is on set. But that said, this movie does have a lot of blue screening, like a lot of it, which is of mixed effectiveness. But yeah, I love the face stuff. I love the robots or the robot puppetry things throughout. I
think Sharon Stone does a fantastic job in this movie too, right? Like, she shifts between kind of like personas so quickly and facilely, like. That's some solid acting. Maybe she's just that way, but
jumping back. Do you have the wrong timestamp?
No, I do. Freeze there. It's fine. I was caught by how messy their kitchen is. First of all,
that's real.
But also, like, his breakfast there.
Right?
Like, the hell
is he putting a stick blender into a real blender?
That's just a picture.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I think that's probably what he eats most days. That's just a protein drink, right?
Just a big shake.
They also have a mix of like real CRT tube TVs, and like magic wall panels.
Cut up to the first one here, but yeah, there was a CRT behind his kitchen, and then. We get this is the other big Paul Verhoeven thing. Let's announce everything that you need to know through news broadcasts that the cast is sort of just kind of half paying attention to, but we get to do it on, you know, the big flat screen, which is what we all really wanted to have back in the day.
Well, that was my note here, right? Like, this screen was so in 1990 was so futuristic and like science-y. And now I'd be pissed if that was the size of my flat screen TV in my house, right? Like,
for sure. My camera says to change my battery pack, but I don't really care enough to fix it. So I'm blind today. That's kind of awesome.
Best you've ever looked.
What's that?
Best you've ever looked.
Oh, I am so pretty, you guys. So pretty. That just means I can pick my nose the whole time, and I kind of love it. Let's see. No, I also actually really kind of groove on the fact that the screen changes aspect ratios to expand over the wall. I mean, that's kind of the dream, right? We're all sick of having these silly little screens that are limited by the size of the box that we bought and can bolt to our walls. We just want all of our walls to be screens.
implying that wallpaper is not actually, the wallpaper, but it's just what the screen is projecting.
Right.
And actually, if you look at it, it looks kind of green screened in there.
You can see some matte lines around all the shots where he's sitting in front of the screen. And I think this might be the first time that I ever watched this movie like in high def. I think every time I've seen it, it's been like at a DVD resolution. So there was a lot of noticing the matte lines in this one.
No wonder you're having nightmares. You're always watching the news.
I like that line, but I don't know. He switches to the big screen, and I like that. Sharon Stone is really good in this movie. And I think that she's the most effective, I think, at kind of keeping the audience on the edge of not knowing the central mystery, I guess, of the movie. Is it a dream or is it not?
This was quite a CG, moment. The animated skeletons.
Yeah, and
they use that prolifically.
They do, and I think this was even in the trailers or in the commercials. I seem to recall this. This is one of those shots that's like excessively burnt in.
I was blown away by this in the theater.
Right?
Yeah. Interestingly, they reused that in True Lies.
Well, once you got it built, you can just run anybody through your gigantic X-ray machine that you definitely did practically. I just wanted to point out the muscles that Mr. Schwarzenegger has. They are extraordinary, and I feel like when you make a movie like this, you're like, all right, I'm gonna have a jackhammer scene because I got Arnold Schwarzenegger and I want his giant arms on screen. All right, somebody knew what they were doing.
I had a note right around here too, which was like OSHA doesn't exist in the future.
Yeah,
right.
Like safety glasses, helmets.
Yep.
No, thank you.
It was actually I read it was Arnold's idea to make him a construction worker. Like earlier scripts had that character as an accountant.
That's no good.
You don't get a build like that adding up columns and numbers.
Yeah, you gotta rationalize it in the least way possible.
Oh, I will point out both those guys are jackhammering, right? Like, and they have very different builds.
Yeah. You really don't get biceps like that by holding a piece of equipment that bounces around a lot either.
Oh yeah.
This is one of the small details.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, this movie is we mentioned the world building before. This movie is just crammed with stuff. And the cool thing is that at very few points does it feel superfluous. It almost always, like, this to me just feels like, this is just a secretary screwing around at her desk waiting for people. Like, for the most part, I feel like it's part of the place and it feels lived in to me. I sense your denial, Cliff.
Yeah, this felt superfluous to me. Like, oh, look, it's the future.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
me too.
If she was doing it and it was framed differently, maybe, but when you're giving 8 seconds of screen time to her changing her nails, like, look, we can do this. I also like that they're using the video phone, like,
through the
6
room.
feet
The
away
guy's
from
right
each other.
there.
Right.
You can see the guy.
Turns out FaceTime ended up way different in reality.
Not nearly as much fun. It is interesting too, though, that they've got it in portrait mode. That seems like what you would have done back then. It was weird that we all went widescreen for a while there.
Are you kidding me? Everyone uses phones now.
I know. That's prescient.
Yeah.
All right, where did I go here?
This and maybe Cliff can go forward maybe a little bit so we get the full screen, because I think you can see both the axes here. But he's got an infographic behind him of fatalities, and I love the it's just deaths or
just
time,
worse and
deaths.
worse over time.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, look, a deceptive infographic.
Right.
Good.
it's shuttle deaths versus whatever the dream implantation thing. That's great.
But again, here's another CRT television, right?
Yeah.
Like
that's definitely a thing that like that back in this era. This is probably a production design call, right? Like we can fake a flat screen, but it'd be much cheaper to just wheel in the CRT from the closet.
So, play a little bit of this here.
No, it sounds wild. It is the latest thing in travel. We call it the ego trip.
First of all, I love the ego trip. Second of all, go back just like 2 seconds.
Suggest that you take a vacation from yourself. And I know it sounds wild.
I
It is
love
latest
the
thing in
painting
travel.
behind him.
Oh yeah.
Like it's totally like kid pixel
Yeah,
art.
it looks like somebody knitted it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, this is the most interesting story of
For
the
sure.
movie. The idea of, inventing a new life for yourself and having that implanted.
Buying the memory of a vacation being cheaper than going on vacation.
which reminds me of what I think is a hugely underrated sci-fi movie, which is Strange Days.
Oh
Yeah.
sure.
With Ray Fiennes and Angela Bassett. Like that's a fine movie.
It's your first trip?
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't worry. Things hardly ever fuck up around here.
That's exactly what you want.
Yep.
Yeah. I when I see this, I actually think about when I had LASIK. I'm wearing glasses.
Yeah, I don't think that line is probably in the handbook, right?
Right. That guy's improving.
I do like this sort of D&D builder menu for who you're going to make it with on your vacation. That seems very spot on.
How do you like your women? Blonde, brunette, redhead?
Sure.
Well, there's 3 brunettes there, or 4 rather. So
So yeah, now is where the movie takes the turn. You can't go back from here, Arnie. Sorry. And maybe the implant worked, or maybe this is all just part of it. Ah, it's a great mystery.
yeah, go back. There we go. So
Are you all right?
I was just saying, if they're handing out free tranquilizers like that, I guarantee you, at the end of a bad week, I would be there every week.
Yeah.
Pretending to freak out about something, just so they would trank me
Yep.
and send me in a taxi home.
Did they give you like vouchers for Johnny Cab?
Yeah.
And Johnny Cab, which is, in my opinion, how no one really wants autonomous vehicles to be, but it is how it will be. Like that. This feels,
I wonder about that because here's the counter argument to this. If you look at the design of Johnny Cab, he's positioned physically in the middle of the front seat, so that's 3 occupancy seats.
No. It's Disney animatronics for sure, but like the annoying
yeah
demeanor, I don't know. I like it.
You're in a Johnny Cab.
I mean, what am I doing here?
I guess this puppet was also modeled after the holographic doctor on Star Trek Voyager, Robert Cardino, whatever his name is.
That's kind of crazy. Bet he doesn't get royalties.
This scene really made me think of those stupid mirror exercise systems you can get now.
Yep. No, that's totally it.
Hi, honey.
Oh, we're jumping a bit here.
So I just like that the tracking device it's a Casio.
The escalator.
That's how you know it's quality.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you just pick one of these up at Best Buy.
Right. Is it like a 2-pack that comes with the nose end as well, or do you buy those sold separately?
I think you buy them separately because he's got one in his car too. So, you know.
Well, I could totally see this being a thing for children, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
LoJack your kid?
Yeah. I'm frankly surprised we don't have more of that here.
I wouldn't want a guy like Quaid porking my old lady.
You saying she likes it?
No, I'm sure she hated every minute of
it. I love this guy.
Yeah.
Just a dick.
Hey, I'm a criminal and I'm the jerk criminal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, here we are.
Even other criminals don't like me.
Yeah.
Laurie says he can't remember jack shit.
That's now. In an hour, he could have total recall.
There it is. Drink.
When this guy was the bad guy in RoboCop too, right?
Well, they're dynamic. I kept having flashes through that we have the same dynamic, right? We have the executive and then kind of the henchman character. I mean, it's basically the same thing.
I mean, the Verhoeven verse is strong in this kind of movie, right? Because Michael Ironsides, who does a fantastic job throughout this movie, then goes on to Starship Troopers.
Mm-hmm. He's so great in that movie too. I will say the other thing is there is a lot of background logos scattered throughout this. We get the Fujifilm there. He was drinking the Pepsi earlier. Like this is it is constant.
Yeah, but it never quite hits that awesome level like it does in RoboCop or Starship Troopers, right? It's never.
Blade Runner is the other one, right?
Yeah.
Like that's why this scene I felt like is totally like a B grade Blade Runner. Like you've got the corporate logos, you've got the sci-fi car, but it just doesn't feel as good, even though the budget was, substantially more.
Yeah, this is
$50 million, I think, to make this one.
In a lot of ways, you feel like Blade Runner is a labor of love, and this is this is about exploiting the commercial potential as best we can.
Yeah, I feel like this was fulfilling contracts. Right?
Well, this was initially optioned as a movie in the 70s, right? And like nobody could make it with the technology at the time, so it just kind of festered and went through a bunch of script drafts and everything. And yeah, it wasn't until 1990 that they made it, and there was a bunch of ownership issues.
I like that Arnie kind of came in with some investors and took it over.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
Now,
Johnny Cab.
This means that in the future, our cars are still gas powered and not electric. So.
So actually, Arnold did like a DVD commentary about that. Like somebody asked, like, what makes the car explode like that, and he's like, I don't know, movie magic.
He's not a deep thinker. Oh, here we go.
Just shoved real hard.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Really? Really?
When you hear the crunch, you're there.
This scene always bothered me because that thing is way too big to come out of his nose.
Yeah, that would tear
even if he was properly dilated, there's no way.
Yeah. That thing's like an
out of a
inch.
nostril. Yeah.
An inch diameter.
I don't like it. I don't like it one little bit. But again, like of all of the prosthetic works, I mean, it actually is pretty convincing. Like you can kind of tell, but it's not bad, except for that that it's not possible.
Now this is the plan. Get your ass to Mars. Go to
So one of the things that I noticed is that there are a number of points throughout this film where a line is repeated over and over and over again. And this is, I think, is the first one. It's get your ass to Mars, get your ass to Mars, get your ass to Mars. It's repeated, and that's a I don't know if that's like a Verhoeven trope or what, but it happens like 3 separate times because it's like 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and then there's another one too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a particularly compelling line to just repeat over and over again, right? This part bothers me because, like, I know he's got that tracker, but they've got eyes too, right? So, like, they can obviously see that there's no person standing 10 feet away, and yet they just shoot anyway.
I don't like how many rats there are. It just seems like there's too many rats. Well, we're 45 minutes in. It's time to get to Mars. My first note is Mars is just too red.
Yeah.
Like, just way too red. Turn down the red, guys. Just a little bit.
It can be a little red.
How are you gonna know it's Mars, dude?
I know, but...
I like this scene in general, and I do like the payoff.
Yeah.
Although when her head comes apart, I think that looks stupid. But when they're holding it and it's talking, that it looks pretty decent.
2 weeks.
Excuse me?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
So when I told Kathleen that this was the movie that we were going to do, she immediately started just saying 2 weeks. That turns out that's the line for her. That's this movie in a nutshell. 2 weeks.
And this actress did a great job with that, you gotta admit.
Totally.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Here we go. Get the shot. I don't know.
I mean, that to me, that's one of like the 3 things you remember from this movie, right?
Sure. It's really, really memorable.
And then the fact that Arnold has to wear a blouse, a pantsuit.
This line is great.
I think I have to get. Where am I? Oh.
Get ready for a surprise.
And now more fisticuffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the third of the movie where it's the Arnie part, and we solve most of our problems with punching.
And automatic weapons.
Well, so this scene bothered me because, like, if a single bullet can basically destroy your habitat,
yes,
that doesn't seem like very good design.
And they comment on it in a later scene too. It's like, don't use that bullet; you'll break that dome. And it's like this happens all the time.
I get it that the bad guy is like cheaping out on the domes or whatever, but still, like, that's pretty bad design, especially since the shutters have to be manually shut. Like. And then, like, I don't know, I'm not a sciencey guy like you and Debona, but I don't know that, like, the atmosphere of Mars would do that, right? Like some violent wind-sucking vacuum.
Oh, yeah, it would.
Would it?
Oh, yeah. The atmosphere is like 1%.
Yeah.
All right.
Equilibrium, man. It wants it. Oh, we got to jump a little here. I do want to point out, I find a lot of the costume work, the sci-fi costumes, to just not work for me. Like not the people who live in the streets, but the people who work in the office buildings.
It's a very 90s version of sci-fi future.
Well, there is the sharper image.
Yep. And there's a Jack in the Box.
Yeah, I stopped here because the advertising in this like little space mall really was like popping to me. Like, you have a sharper image on Mars.
Yeah. And again, going back to the OSHA comments, these giant fans back there. I'm sorry, but you can't.
No grading.
Yeah, there would be a screen, like a little bit.
You're in mutant town. No one cares if mutants get hurt.
That's true.
I do feel like The Last Resort kind of has its own Moss Eisley level, cachet. Like,
for sure.
The principal difference being that in Moss Eisley, you don't have to worry about where during that 5-minute scene you pause. But in The Last Resort, there are about 4 different shots that will get you in trouble.
I understand. I was very careful with my time codes.
I appreciate that because I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to handle this next part except to go real fast.
No.
Ah!
You got a problem with the number 3?
Oh man, that's great. And
that's one of the other 3 most memorable scenes in this movie, right?
Yep.
Indeed.
And 14, 15-year-old me, I guess I must have seen this like on tapes because that's so burned in. So I must have seen this before I saw it on like the TV dub because that 14-year-old me thought that was the funniest thing you could possibly put on a TV screen.
I was researching the movie today, and I was sad to find out that the actress who did that really hated doing it. Right, that she was like basically traumatized by playing a three-breasted woman.
We'll play this a little bit.
How's a job that's supposed to be...
Did you say wife?
Okay, so this is the most sexist thing in this entire movie as far as I'm concerned, even way more than the triple-breasted woman. So he has basically just said, we are part of an intergalactic, political terrorist plot. And she is upset that he has a fake wife back on Earth.
Right.
She doesn't want to hear any of it. She's just mad that he hooked up with a girl.
And like, she's not just anyone either, right? Like, she's connected to the underground. Like that. That is not in keeping.
She's at least like a lieutenant in the underground. It's crazy.
Written by a dude. All right, we got to jump a little bit more. So now we're getting closer to the movie, just kind of getting on roller coaster rails, but we get our return. Miss Sharon Stone.
And this is a really interesting scene, right? Like, basically, this guy tells you the entire third act.
Yep. And we also get the red pill from the Matrix.
And for me, like, I don't know, there isn't a part in this movie, at least for me, any of the times I watched it, where I thought legitimately he might be in Total Recall and this really might be a dream. So this whole scene, like, if they made that more convincing, it could have been a really interesting part of the movie where you're like, oh my God, is this a dream this whole time? Is this just in his head? But there's no part where I thought that was a possibility.
So you're not in the like with the Blade Runner thing, the is Deckard a replicant or not? You just take it.
Well, no, he's obviously a replicant, but
depends on which edit you watch, man.
I think there are a few things they did that ruined kind of that ambiguity that they could have had. Like both the jackhammer buddy and the wife give really like suspicious looks before he goes to Total Recall, kind of leading you down the pathway.
Yeah.
And the initial dream sequence is before Total Recall, which leads you down a pathway. So it's like,
yeah, there's like 3 shots in the first 20 minutes or so where the camera hangs like 1 second long on the edit for like Sharon Stone looking at him. Like, you're looking a little too long. I feel like that's your intent here.
Yep.
I've always felt that that the movie intends itself to be ambiguous. What you take away from it, I guess is up to you. I would tend to agree with you though, Rob. I think it leans too hard into that this is real.
And in this scene, the implication is because the guy is sweating during this.
Yeah.
It's real, and so he shoots him in the face.
Oh wait.
What is it?
It's a symbol of your desire to return to reality.
Like that other movie.
R/red pill. Just.
That's right.
Got a semi.
Miller Lite.
So I want to give credit to this scene because that fight, like at this time in movies, girl fights tended to be cat fights.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
Like a lot of slap and tickle kind of stuff. And this is a seriously nicely choreographed and stunted. Like Sharon Stone actually was inducted as an honorary member of the Stunt Persons Association for her work on this film. Like they do a good job.
I'm actually really glad you noted this. I did not, but I was thinking the exact same thing. The actions, like there's a lot of action sequences in this movie that just feel like we're a bunch of people standing around punching each other. And then there's a few action sequences that like you can tell somebody storyboarded and really scripted. And this is definitely, and yeah, those flips and stuff, and that's the real stuff, man. I love it.
This is like pre-Buffy, like kind of.
Yeah.
That was your wife? What a bitch.
And there's two lines there that I feel like ruin that entire sequence, right? Like, consider that a divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your wife.
Ugh.
Whatever.
It's the 80s. Actually, 1990, but I think it's the same thing.
This is my favorite fight scene in the movie, is the brothel brawl.
The brothel
I
brawl.
like that Thumbelina jumps up on the bar counter with that gun and is just mowing people down.
That's my next time code, man. Just wait for it.
They got a lot of bullets.
Yeah. That's why I think this movie got made, personally.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Oh, they're cutting off the air. They might be bad. No, we didn't. Nobody paused on Benny, so we get to trust Benny now. This movie also has, I think, 4 separate sequences where you get into a car with a cab driver, 2 Johnny Cabs and 2 Bennys. There's a lot of cab time.
I kind of like how creepy his hand is, but I don't like how he unveiled it because they show him using his hand, like his human-looking hand.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see it, it turns out that that's actually his elbow.
Well, when he takes it off, they demonstrate it's still moving, like he has some sort of control over it. Still wiggling.
There we go.
So it's a robot hand.
All right.
It's probably Bluetooth.
Yeah, probably.
So, people around him occasionally, hack into it, and sometimes it just disconnects for no reason. Like my camera.
This is the other scene that I feel like,
yeah.
If you're going to distill this movie into its
this
visual
is it.
clips. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. There's a lot about this that I just absolutely love, and this is, I think, the only shot that I don't think is really effective, because there's a couple of shots where it looks like there's too much stuff physically attached to the actor's front half. Mm-hmm. But like the puppetry and everything, the fact that it's all wet and slimy, I love it.
And as a concept, this is really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've used this. I've said this to you guys on many movies like this in the past, but I always have a thing where every movie gets one thing for free, and this thing gets all the Total Recall stuff for free. But then this movie asks you to accept 2 more things. You have to accept mutants and psychic power. And I feel like the mutant stuff is so great and interesting that I wish they didn't have to have the psychic power. I wish they could have figured out a way to have one or the other, because that's a lot for me to take in a movie like this.
I do like that the mutations are kind of, disfiguring, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because so often, like, a mutant ends up looking like Storm, not like.
Yeah. So yeah, we
took 15 puppeteers to work that Quato.
It's incredibly effective, and fun and weird. There's a Saturday Night Live bit that we should dig up the URL where they parody. That's where everybody's got their own Quato. It's awesome. All right, we're jumping a little bit here. Yeah, he gets to meet himself and realize, am I the baddie? And we get to go back to the recall machine. So I just think that the Paul Verhoeven is not the most subtle of editors.
What?
What do you mean?
What is he saying in this scene?
What's?
Is this symbolic?
Oh, this guy can't breathe either. Oh, it's the same thing. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, basically, I don't care about any part of this movie from this point on.
No.
It's just, I mean, maybe if they did a little bit more about the alien technology, but it just seems like such a throwaway. Like, oh, also, there were aliens here 1 million years ago.
Yeah.
And they've built this thing that will create atmosphere on Mars. We don't really know who they were or how it works, but somehow we know that we can make it start. And yeah.
There's a lot of things about this. Like, for example, throughout the alien base, there's like scaffolding and stuff that clearly the humans have built around there. And I'm sorry, but if you put up like scaffolding like that, that means hundreds of people know about this. And it's not like rumors. The news report tells us that these are rumors. No, that ain't rumors. Hundreds of people, and this is like a very disrupted environment. That is a fact. Everybody knows it. Somebody's got a camera, an iPhone, and they took a picture of it and sent it home. Super gory. Actually,
also, that guy should have just moved 4 inches.
Yeah. Look, Benny had 4 or 5 kids to feed. He was preoccupied.
Yeah.
I guess in earlier cuts of the movie, like they showed like his guts spilling out and stuff, which was part of why its initial rating was an X rating.
Oops. So by far the weakest part to this movie is the fact that they now spend like 5 minutes screwing around with the hologram generator.
In hologram gunplay.
And not hitting each other during this scene at all.
So they're shooting at this guy and there's no guy there. And you're telling me that none of these bullets ricocheted up and hit each other? You're like 10 feet apart.
Well, I mean, just look at the crossfire there. Right?
Exactly.
They're literally firing squads facing each other.
Of course, they did reuse this gag for, Star Wars 9. So, hey, whatever. It still works.
It's true. But yeah, this goes on too long. I think you're right. I thought I had a time code. From the moment you see the handprint machine on, this movie has nothing. It kind of the wheels kind of fall off.
Lace up and be home in time for cornflakes.
Some scriptwriter somewhere decided that's what that guy goes home for.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And then the big dramatic thing has to happen. See, that's the air machine.
Mm-hmm. It would have been better if he had to cut one of his fingers off.
Right? Like the dramatic tensions, he has to reach really hard.
Oh. Ooh.
Because I feel like that was a very poor design on part of the aliens. Really, I feel like you could just throw a piece of hamburger in there and it would have worked.
Right. We get some more face explosions here. I'm glad he couldn't hold out for just 10 more seconds. I do actually really like this machinery, like the way that it all looks and like how big these plunger things feel. Like, I feel like the production design here is all really fun and interesting, and I'm all for it.
And it's amazing how quickly it can create atmosphere.
That is a different problem, and that bothers me.
Amazing to the point of being unbelievable, in fact.
Yeah. So yeah, in 2 minutes, maybe, we have this volcano, which is apparently putting forth oxygen, and even if that volcano is pumping out breathable atmosphere at this rate, it takes hours for there to be enough atmosphere for you at the base to not have a face explosion.
So I have to say the puppet work on the both the actors as they're like kind of suffocating to death, that's really great stuff, right? Like, I mean, that's
strong puppets. You don't get that anymore. It's always CGI now. I miss that. All right. Some of these paintings aren't quite as effective as the others. And now suddenly there's a blue sky and clouds.
Mars is great.
Pause right here. If you look right next to Arnold's right arm there, is that a Coke can?
You know, it sure looks like one, but I don't think
Wow,
it is.
yeah.
It might be. Although in this movie, wouldn't it be a Pepsi? I think that's the one that's
Yeah, I
getting
think
the
they just
placement.
painted a Pepsi can gray.
I also appreciate how the alien device took all the red out of the world.
Yeah. Clearly, that was just the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
It's the Visine. It's the planetary Visine. It gets the red out.
That's right.
Is it a terrible thought? What if this is a dream?
Well, then kiss me quick before you wake up.
Ta-da! Hands on the face. Smoochies. Bam. That's Total Recall.
Lobotomy.
Yep. And now you're dead. Your brain never comes back. And you never got
Yeah,
out
they
of
should
that thing.
absolutely ended this movie with a
Him
shot of
flatlined.
him being in a wheelchair and then pushing him into a room someplace
Yep.
as he mumbles about Guado.
Yeah, like an Indiana Jones style warehouse
Yeah.
with just people in chairs, thousands of them.
Exactly.
I'm
That
in.
would have been a terrific ending.
I'm all in for that. They didn't dare do it in the sequel either. Oh man. So that one, I feel like that movie is like the peak of that particular genre, that action sci-fi combo thing that the 80s was trying to perfect. Because like I was saying earlier, I think Terminator 2 is the point where it now is so self-aware of what it is that now it's trying to be that thing. And I think this still was authentically trying to be that thing. But, you know, I still like it.
I think it's a last of breed, right? Of a particular type of movie.
Well, folks, we did it. Rob, I think you're next.
No.
No? Who picked Miller's Crossing?
Me.
I picked Miller's Crossing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why do I always mix you guys up? Nate, what do we get next?
Next, we are going to watch. We're gonna turn the dial a little further back past the 80s because I would like to watch the movie Network.
Oh, excellent choice. I'm mad as hell about your decision.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to take it anymore.
Nope, can't.
Mm-mm.
Can't take it.
You reminded me of it, Rob, when you impugned my cocksmanship.
That movie is, we'll get into it next week. That movie has everything in it. It's amazing. It's like it perfectly predicted like the mid 2000s.
I think we need to have a vote on whether this was real or a dream.
Oh, I'll go with dream, just to be obstinate. I think the directing wants you to think that it's real, but I think that if you were to read the script, and I'm totally speculating, I think if you were to read the script, it was probably more ambiguous. But I think Paul Verhoeven wants to lean in a little hard on a few of those shots to make it a little bit more unbelievable.
Oh, DeBona says dream as well.
Yeah, well, you're wrong.
I'm going for real too.
All right, Nate.
Yeah, no, I think they provide enough cues that before he gets the recall, it's what happens.
I'm glad everybody on Mars will have their oxygen then. They won't have to be under Copenhagen's thumb. All right, folks. Let's say goodbye to Nate Ostendorp.
Fare thee well.
Rob Roseboom.
See ya.
Cliff Lampy.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
And I'm Rob Commander Taco Malden. You can't see me, so haha. We'll see you Friday with some news. Maybe I'll fix my camera. Bye.